The warning signals we ignore Black women as economic prophets. Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to share a revelation that transformed my understanding of our economy, our workplaces, and our collective future. This insight didn't come from economists at prestigious universities or analysts on Wall Street. It came from the brilliant mind of Tiffany Vernell, whose groundbreaking research has illuminated patterns that most of us have been too blind or perhaps too comfortable to see. Tiffany Vernell isn't just a thought leader. She's a visionary who has dedicated her life to revealing hidden economic truths that challenge our most fundamental assumptions. Her work stands at the intersection of economic justice, racial equity, and gender parity, not as abstract concepts, but as measurable realities that affect millions of lives. What makes Tiffany extraordinary isn't just her analytical brilliance, but her courage to speak uncomfortable truths in spaces where silence has been the norm for generations. When I first encountered Tiffany's research, I expected inspiration. What I received instead was awakening, a complete restructuring of how I understand economic indicators and human potential. Today, I want that same awakening for you. We've all heard the narratives about Black women in America: resilient, strong, determined, overcomers. We celebrate their ability to navigate systems stacked against them, to rise despite barriers, to succeed when conventional wisdom predicted failure. These stories inspire us, comfort us, allow us to believe in the promise of American meritocracy. But what if these narratives, however well intentioned, have blinded us to a more profound truth? What if, in celebrating resilience, that we've missed something far more significant? Here's the insight that shattered my perspective. Black women are not just participants in our economy, they are its prophets. They are the canaries in our economic coal mine, the first to feel the tremors of instability, the earliest indicators of systemic failure. Let that sink in for a moment. The very group we praise for their ability to weather storms is simultaneously the first to experience those storms. Their challenges aren't just personal obstacles to overcome, they're warning signals for all of us. This isn't theoretical. The evidence is stark and undeniable. In 2025, while America celebrated its economic recovery, a troubling pattern emerged beneath the surface. Overall, unemployment remains steady, with most demographic groups seeing stable or improving job prospects. But Black women's unemployment rose dramatically, from 5.1% in March to 6% by June, double the rate of white workers during the same period. Conventional economic wisdom dismissed this as statistical noise or sector specific disruption. But Tiffany Vernell saw something different. She recognized it as the first whisper of broader instability, a warning sign that would eventually affect all workers. And she was right. 6 months later, those economic tremors had spread. What began as rising unemployment among Black women expanded to other demographic groups. The economic indicators that policymakers relied on: GDP growth, consumer confidence, market performance, finally caught up to what Black women had been experiencing for half a year. By then, reactive policies were the only option. Proactive intervention, the kind that might have prevented widespread hardship, was no longer possible. The warning signs had been there, but we hadn't been listening to the right voices. And this pattern isn't new. Historically, Black women have been disproportionately affected by economic downturns, often experiencing job losses earlier and recovering later than other groups. Despite high educational attainment, Black women are among the most educated demographic groups in America. They continue to face structural barriers in hiring, promotion, and retention. But here's where Tiffany's perspective becomes truly revolutionary. What if we actually paid attention to these signals? What if instead of waiting for traditional economic indicators to confirm a downturn, we recognize the experiences of Black women as legitimate economic data? This would require a fundamental shift in how we think about economic health. It would mean acknowledging that an economy that works for the most vulnerable is an economy that truly works. The implications extend far beyond economics. They challenge us to reconsider whose voices we value, whose experiences we validate, and whose warnings we heed. But this isn't just about economic indicators, it's about recognizing the full complexity of Black women's professional journeys, both their pioneering achievements and their disproportionate vulnerability. Consider this remarkable contradiction. According to the Wells Fargo Impact of Women Owned Businesses report, from 2024, businesses owned by women, including many led by Black founders, grew nearly twice as fast as those owned by men between 2019 and 2023. Despite starting with limited capital, these entrepreneurs maximized community networks, leveraged digital tools, and built diverse teams embracing varied perspectives. The results were extraordinary. Women led startups consistently outperformed male led peers on ROI measures. They broke records for growth rates among minority owned enterprises nationwide. They demonstrated tangible value from investing in diverse leadership. Yet these same entrepreneurs faced persistent funding gaps and underrepresentation across tech and social impact sectors. The very innovators driving exceptional growth continue to encounter barriers that their counterparts did not. This paradox, exceptional performance despite systemic barriers, characterizes so many Black women's professional experiences. And it raises a profound question. What might be possible if these barriers were removed? How much more innovation, growth, and prosperity might we all enjoy? The answer comes into sharper focus when we look globally. A fascinating World Bank study called Breaking the Metal Ceiling examined Ugandan female entrepreneurs succeeding within male dominated industries like manufacturing. These women face significant challenges: lack of information about lucrative opportunities outside traditional sectors, gendered barriers accessing human capital and networks, but when mentorship programs linked aspiring businesswomen with successful peers already operating across non traditional fields, something remarkable happened. Women who entered these sectors earned incomes equal to or greater than men and triple those of women remaining within female dominated areas. This intervention drove policy changes supporting sector diversification efforts continent wide. The lesson is clear. When we remove artificial barriers and provide equal access to opportunity, everyone benefits. The economy grows, innovation flourishes, communities thrive. This brings me to another key insight from Tiffany's research. Empowering Black professionals isn't just about individual advancement, it creates ripple effects throughout industries, fostering diversity of thought, stronger teams, and better outcomes for communities at large. Too often, we frame diversity and inclusion as charitable endeavors, something we do to help underrepresented groups. But Tiffany's research reveals a different truth. When we fail to fully include Black women in our economic systems, We all lose. We lose their insights, their innovations, their leadership. We lose the early warnings they might provide about economic vulnerabilities. We lose the growth they drive despite facing headwinds. This perspective demands that we move beyond simplistic narratives about resilience and grit. Yes, Black women demonstrate extraordinary determination in overcoming barriers, but focusing exclusively on individual resilience obscures the systemic changes needed to create truly equitable opportunities. As Tiffany noted, we need to stop celebrating people's ability to overcome barriers and start removing the barriers altogether. This shift requires action at multiple levels. It means crafting economic policies that specifically address structural racism and unequal opportunities. It means using disaggregated data when crafting workforce solutions rather than relying on aggregate numbers that mask disparities. It means creating mentorship programs that connect aspiring professionals with successful peers who can provide guidance and open doors. But perhaps most importantly, it means recognizing the value of diverse perspectives in all decision making processes. When Black women are present in boardrooms, policy discussions, and leadership positions, different questions get asked, different solutions emerge, different priorities take shape. This isn't just theoretical. The evidence is clear. Women led businesses grow faster. Entrepreneurs entering non traditional sectors earn more. Communities benefit from broader prosperity. So I stand before you today with a challenge that goes beyond awareness. I'm calling for a complete reimagining of how we measure economic health, how we value human potential, and how we create systems that work for everyone. What if we treated Black women's economic experiences not as anomalies, but as prophecies? What if we responded to their challenges not with platitudes about resilience, but with structural changes that prevent those challenges in the first place? What if we recognized that an economy that fails Black women will eventually fail us all? The choice before us is clear. We can continue to celebrate individual success stories while ignoring systemic warning signs, or we can heed the prophets among us, those whose experiences reveal deeper truths about our economic future. The Canaries are singing. The question is, are we listening? Today, I challenge you to become not just aware, but active, to recognize warning signs before they become crises, to create pathways that don't just allow for diversity, but actively dismantle barriers to full participation, to build economic systems that value all voices, all contributions, all potential. Because an economy that works for Black women is an economy that truly works. And a society that heeds their warnings is a society prepared for the future. The time for passive observation is over. The time for transformative action is now. Will you join me? Thank you.